I'm a School of Law, Mumbai. I'll be graduating next year. I have my specialization in business laws. I have been doing youth parliaments and MUNs for quite some time. I have had my fair share of conferences in the past few years, especially in Maharashtra. Uh, so that's enough about me. We have Karan, Tanya, and Adila as other members of the board. Karan, Tanya, Adila, in this order, if you can just introduce yourself to the members.
Hi, my name is Karan. I'll be serving as the Deputy Chair for Rajya Sabha in this conference. And I am a first year student at GLC Mumbai. That's about it. We'll get to know each other better during the conference as well.
Tanaya?
Hello, my name is Tanaya Gandhi and I'm a law aspirant and a 12th graduate. I have also served before as an OC member, but not as a chair. So this is my first time experience and I hope to know you guys better and have a great conference ahead.
Adila?
Hello everyone, I'm Adila. I'm a TYBA Pol Science student from St. Xavier's College, and I'm serving as a scribe for the PCGT Nyp this year. Hope to have a good time with you all.
All right. Thank you, all three of you. Members, like all of you, I think it's very important for us to understand that today is going to be a very informal session. So guys, hello, am I audible?
Yep, you are.
Okay, great. So yeah, guys, this is going to be a completely informal session. You are completely allowed to interact with any of us at any point in time. Whatever we discuss today is going to facilitate the discussion on the days of the conference, but will have no bearing. Whatever you say today will have no bearing in deciding your awards, or will have no bearing on the days of the conference. So I think enough about us. If anybody of you right now has any question, we can take that up later once we are done with explaining the procedure. Before that, I think you have the show of hand feature in Zoom. So if through a quick show of hand, you can tell me as to who all are first timers in this committee, at least in the present strength, in the present lot, how many of you are first timer? If by a quick show of hand, you can just show. All right. All right. All right. Fair enough. I think we have a good share of first timers in the committee. So we'll have to keep that in mind also. But I think so far as the strength is concerned, we have everything in moderation, be it the experienced members or, first timers. So that is great. Now, so far as Rajya Sabha is concerned, now Rajya Sabha is usually not convened in any youth parliament. It's generally a Lok Sabha or, the AIPPM that we have, that is the All India Political Parties meet. But at PCGT, we try to have Rajya Sabha always. As we know, Rajya Sabha is the upper house of the central legislature that we have. Now, you do not represent the people. You represent different states that we have in the country. All right. There are various powers that the Lok Sabha has, but inherently Rajya Sabha doesn't. Can anybody tell me what is that one major power which the members of the Rajya Sabha has, but the member of Lok Sabha have, but members of Rajya Sabha do not?
The right to pass financial bills.
Yeah, that is correct. Please. Somebody was saying something.
Yeah, so the members of the Lok Sabha can introduce a bill, whereas Rajya Sabha people can't.
I think what you're trying to say is members of both the house can come up with a bill. However, the power to come up with a money bill or introduction of a money bill is vested with that of the Lok Sabha, correct? Private members bill can even arise or take its origin in the Rajya Sabha. But when it comes to money bill or the finance bill, if I'm not wrong, you have to go through Article 110 or 111 of the Indian Constitution to see what is actually a finance bill. So that power is vested with the Lok Sabha. One other power which Rajya Sabha does not have because of the composition of its setting is the power to bring no confidence motion. Can anybody tell me as to why we do not have? I'm so sorry, this is becoming a polity session, but it will be finished in about 30 seconds from now. It's just that we all of us need to be on the same page about the political structure of Rajya Sabha. So anybody can tell me why do we not have the power of no confidence motion? They are not directly elected. Okay, fair, but there is one other important reason also.
Sir, probably because the number of seats in Rajya Sabha are not unilaterally distributed to every state, and because the population of each state differs, and therefore, while determining the no confidence motion, there might be a problem of the votes playing a matter over there.
Fair, but the two things.
There's another reason.
Yeah.
The Rajya Sabha is determined by the state legislatures, which is not representative of the opinion of the people for the central government.
Absolutely. That is one of the fundamental and inherent reasons why we predominantly do not have something like no confidence. But one other reason is we do not have the government sitting in the Rajya Sabha. We do have members of the government. We do have the members of the ruling party, but the Prime Minister sits in the Lok Sabha. All right. Majorly, the Council of Ministers sits in the Lok Sabha. The power to come up with a finance bill is given to the Lok Sabha. So if you do not have the government sitting in the Rajya Sabha, then how will you come up with a no confidence motion to remove them? All right. So these two are the fundamental reasons. One, that the members in the Rajya Sabha are not elected by the people, but by the different states that we have. And the other is that we do not have the representation of, we do have ministers sometimes, but the government is not present in the Rajya Sabha. Yes, Hardeep Singh Puri. Yeah, you're saying something.
If the government is not sitting in the Rajya Sabha, how did Manmohan Singh rule for 10 years as being Prime Minister, being the member of Rajya Sabha?
I think I'll have to look that up. Was he a part of Rajya Sabha way back then?
At least in the first term, he was, I guess.
Because I'm not sure about it. I really don't have any clue if he was sitting in the Rajya Sabha, because the Prime Minister, the leader of the government, always sits in the Lok Sabha. However, if it was
I don't know if he sat in the Rajya Sabha, but he was a member of Rajya Sabha.
But you cannot be a member of both the houses, right? You have to give the candidature of one house to become a member of the other house. So if you are saying that he was a member of the Rajya Sabha, then I think I'll have to look that up.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'll look it up and let you know on the day of the conference as to what was the actual scenario then. Okay. Now, with regards to the procedure, across India, there are various youth parliaments conducted. There are various MUNs conducted, because of which we have a fair share of different combination of procedures that is used to facilitate any conference, any committee. So far as the two committees are concerned, be it Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, and also not only Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, but different legislative assemblies that we have, at least for these committees, we have a solid procedure that is given out by the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs for the code or for the conduct of youth parliaments across the country. So many of you must have been through this procedure. Many of you might have been through a different set of procedure altogether. But all the procedures that we have a decent amount of commonality between all of them. All right. So it's not like the procedure that I'm going to have on 2 days in the 2 days of the conference is going to be completely different from what you guys have been through. The procedure that we are going to follow is the code of conduct that is prescribed by the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs for the conduct of youth parliaments across the country. Now, in the actual scenario, what happens is Lok Sabha has a different procedure, which is called the Green Book. Rajya Sabha has a different procedure, which is called the Red Book. All right. All of this rules of procedure, if you are interested in reading about it, is available. These rule books are available in the public domain. So you can give it a read if you want. So far as the procedure that we have for this committee, as I said, is going to be the parliamentary affairs one. And it starts with a national anthem. Secondly, we have oath of the members of the committee. जितने भी लोग होंगे उनकी एक oath taking ceremony होगी. उसके बाद we come down to obituary references. All right. I think you understand what obituary references means, right? Reference to any recent obituary, correct? All right. So that is there. Then next item in the business of the house, we have at about 10 a.m. we usually take motions for what is going to happen after 12. But in here, what we are going to do is we are going to have Vivek, do you have a question?
Yes. Actually, my question is, can you elaborate what is obituary?
Okay. Does anybody want to take? Is there anyone who wants to take what is meant by obituary references?
Any member of the house who has passed away, we pay like respects to them.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And one more question.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to prepare their own oath, or you will give us the oath?
No. It's going to be one uniform oath.
Okay.
All right. Essentially, I'm going to be reading stuff, or not essentially me, but the leader of the government present in this house.
Okay.
All right. Leader of the ruling party in this particular house that we have is going to be reading the oath, which is going to be followed by all the other members. Now, something like that is only and only possible if you're having a physical conference, right? In a virtual conference, and an oath-taking ceremony cannot be done in a way it is supposed to be conducted, all right? So we are essentially going to be skipping that. But just to tell you how it goes through, after national anthem, we have oath-taking ceremony. Then comes the obituary references. These things are very irrelevant for you. It's just to inform you as to what is going to be the flow. That's all. All right. Then at 10, we start taking notices for what is going to happen after 12. But in here, what we are going to do is we are going to have a few opening statements so that everybody in the committee at least knows a fair share of what people think about the agenda. All right. So it is going to be started with a speech or an opening statement delivered by first the leader of the government present in the house. The last person is going to be the leader of the opposition. Now, what is an opening statement? See, every terminology that I'm using right now, I'm going to explain that to you. So don't worry. Be it what is the leader, who is the leader of the house, who is the leader of the opposition, how do you become that, what is the opening statement? Now, opening statement is nothing but a speech of about 90 to 120 seconds, up to you to decide, before we start the opening statements. It's essentially a speech wherein you tell the other members of the committee along with the members present on the board, what do you think about the agenda? All right. So we have a specific agenda given to us, which is going to facilitate the scope of our discussion. In your opening statement, you essentially have to tell everyone what do you feel about the agenda, what your party feels about the agenda, what do you think you're going to do in the next 2 days to further advance the agenda or to help the agenda in settling the issue, what are the problems that are associated with the agenda that we need to resolve. All right. So these are the various things that you can potentially include in your opening statement. If it were up to me, how would I deliver an opening statement? I think I would try to divide my opening statement in about 3 parts. One is a basic overview and introduction to the agenda that we have. That can also include why we have actually gathered here to discuss this specific agenda. Why is it important? All right. And by that, I do not mean that you need to give an overview that is given on Wikipedia as to what public-private partnership is, but essentially as to what is your understanding of it, what is your party's understanding of it. All right. So in first para, you can do that. Secondly, you can talk about the problems that are associated with the agenda. All right. The problems that we have associated with the public-private partnership in the current situation. Third, how do you think this situation, or how do you think that public-private infrastructure can be made better? Or how do you think the committee should go on in the next 2 days? All right. So this bifurcation that I just told you is just a direction. However, all of you at your will are free to decide how do you want to deliver your opening statement. All right. But this is a basic layout or how you should be doing that, just to give it a proper structure. Now, as I said, it is either going to be of 90 seconds or 120 seconds, which is about 2 minutes. All right. Neeraj, are you saying something? Nirmala Sitharaman, are you saying something?
Yes, sir, I had a doubt, if I may.
Please.
Sir, as far as the opening statements are considered, since in the Rajya Sabha and in the Lok Sabha, we are allowed to make statements in the official languages that are recognized. Can we make the statements in the language, in the official, one of the official languages that is mentioned?
Okay. Just out of curiosity, how many official languages do we have in the country?
22.
22.
Yes, sir, 22.
22.
23 if you count English.
Okay, great. I understand only 2, Hindi and English. So these are the only 2 languages you're allowed to give your speech. Now see, you may give your speech in Marathi. You may give it in Kannada. The problem is, I'll be celebrating your speech after you are done, but won't be understanding bits of it. So basic facilitation of debate के लिए मेरी अंडरस्टैंडिंग जरूरी है, आपको अवार्ड मिलने के लिए मेरी अंडरस्टैंडिंग जरूरी है, आपके बीच में समझौता होने के लिए मेरी अंडरस्टैंडिंग जरूरी है, और एक दूसरे की अंडरस्टैंडिंग जरूरी है, करेक्ट? सो उसके लिए इट इज जस्ट डायरेक्टेड, not mandated, that you speak in Hindi or English. I hope everybody is comfortable with Hindi in that regard. If not, we can, try to come up with any measure, but I don't think there is any measure right now. Yeah, you were saying something.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The point is, I completely understand Hindi when it is spoken, in mix with English. But when it is spoken in its pure form, I do not understand, since I come from a background where I have not studied Hindi or not come across Hindi as an official language to study. So, so can you approach the the chairman or the deputy chairman or the scribe in terms of translation for particular parts of any speech or any discussion that is proceeded in the house, sir?
Okay. You are actually a very difficult, trust me, you're in a very difficult spot right now, and I understand that completely. This is not the first time something like this is happening. What we can do is, first of all, I can just request everyone in the committee to not be very fundamental when it comes to Hindi or any language. If you can be simple in the way that you're able to convey to every member who does not understand Hindi in a very good way, that will be appreciated. Secondly, as you suggested, we are definitely going to have that feature in the committee. The scribe is going to have the transcripts at all times, which is going to be maintained in English. All right, at least the basic points of what everybody is saying is going to be maintained as part of the record of the committee. Therefore, I think अगर कोई speech है जो आपको नहीं समझ में आ रही है, you can definitely reach out to Adila and take the transcript. You're also free to reach out to the member who delivered the speech in order for you to, gain an understanding of what he said. ठीक है?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So that is with regards to language. Yeah, so we were talking about opening statements. I think I've explained to you what opening statements entail. Quickly, at about 11 a.m., what we'll do is we'll rush down to question hour. Now, what is a question hour? Question hour is essentially an hour allocated for the members to ask questions to each other. All right. The way it works is members of the opposition ask questions to members of the government. All right. But we will decide on the day of the conference whether it is just the government or, members of the opposition can also do that. Oh, sorry, it is just the members of the opposition who can ask questions to members of the government, or is it the members of the government also who can ask questions to the members of opposition? I am of the opinion that we're not going to have that, most probably. However, as of yet, for you to remember the procedure, members of the opposition are going to ask questions to members of the government. Now, the reason why we do not allow members of the government to ask questions to members of opposition is very simple. Members of opposition are not accountable for anything. They do not represent power. The power is with the government. So if there is anything that can be done or implemented or executed in the interest of the agenda that you discuss, it is only and only vested with the government. All right. The bureaucracy is with the government. The executive is with the government. Therefore, opposition gets a chance to question them, not the other way around. All right. Yes, Nirmala Sitharaman, I think you have a doubt.
Sir, am I audible?
Yeah, please.
Yes. So, sir, generally in the lower house of the parliament, we have question hour where, individual MPs and, people who are also part of the government send questions to the cabinet or to the ministries. But given the fact that in Rajya Sabha, we do not have the council of ministers, so how will it work in Rajya Sabha here? That is my doubt.
Absolutely. Now, even in Lok Sabha, what we do is, as you said, members of the government can ask questions, or members of the ruling party can ask questions to the Council of Ministers. All right, but here, since we do not have a definite Council of Ministers sitting, we have representations from the side of the government. They are members of the ruling party. All right. So we can come up with a structure wherein members of the opposition, all right, or who does not represent a stake in the ruling government currently, can ask questions to the members of the ruling party.
Okay, sir, understood.
Fair?
Yes, sir.
Do we have, in about 25 people that we have in the committee present right now, or Karan, if you can take some time and look at the matrix of the committee and then tell me if we have council of any minister sitting in the house, or what is the number of ministers that we have according to the matrix. Take some time.
I'll check and get back.
Yeah. No problem. Hardeep Singh Puri, yes, please.
Yeah, I was just stating that I am a cabinet minister of 2 ministries actually.
Okay. Congratulations. Okay, perfect. Now, where were we? We were done with opening statement. We were discussing what is question hour. Now, as I said, question hour में opposition में जो लोग बैठे हैं वो ruling को question पूछेंगे, correct? The members of the opposition are going to ask questions to the members of the ruling. All right. Since we do not have a definite council of ministers, you are free to ask questions to the members of the ruling party also, not only restricted to members like Hardeep Singh Puri, who is a minister, correct? Question hour is essentially divided into 2 parts: starred questions and unstarred questions. Okay. Now, very simple. Starred question essentially means that is unstarred. the number of start questions for any MP is limited to 2. The number of unstarred questions for any MP is limited to 20. That means if Hardeep Singh Puri is a sitting minister in the house, then only 2 questions can be asked to him. All right. How is it going to work? Because I think we have less ministers and more members of opposition. So yes, there is going to be a problem. And if I see that there is a significant problem that might arise in the committee, I might change the number to 3 or 4. So far as start questions are concerned. Now, how is this going to work? Because members are going to ask indefinite questions to the Council of Ministers. But since the number is limited, and that is only 2 per MP, we have question hour only on the first day. We do not have question hour on the second day. So far as the unstarred questions are concerned, I'll deal with it later. Okay. Hardeep Singh Puri, please remind me once I'm done with the procedure. I'll explain it to you as to how, once you're done with question hour, but in the remainder of the conference, how can you ask questions to each other? All right. Now, how is it going to work? As soon as the opening statements start, all right, at 10 a.m. in the morning, I'm going to request all of you to send your questions to the executive board. All right, to me, to Karan. We are going to devise a method for that. It's mostly going to be, I think, via WhatsApp or via the chat section that you have enabled in Zoom. Okay. What you're going to do is you can note down the structure as to how you're going to send questions for question hour. The structure of a chit is 2. In 2, you write the member of, ruling party or the Council of Ministers who you want to ask or confront with that question. All right. So 2 is the person who are addressing your question to, from who you are representing. Then below from, you write via speaker, via chairman. All right. Then if that question is starred, then you make a star on top, or you write starred question. If that question is unstarred, and by unstarred you mean you are comfortable with the member answering that question via chit, all right, not orally in the committee, then you write unstar, or you do not make a star. Fair? Any problem up until now? Then you write your question. You're allowed to give a 2-line context to your question, but not more than that. Okay, in inverted commas, you can just write what your question is. All right. So this is the structure of how you have to present a question in a chat. All right, Vivek, I think you have a doubt. Tell me.
Yes. Can you just repeat the structure once again?
All right. 2, the person you're addressing it to, from the portfolio that you represent, via chairman. Via chairman essentially means that you want this to go to the chairman. All right. You want this to go to the person who are addressing it to. If you want to ask a question to Hardeep Singh Puri, then you want this question to go via the chairperson so that I can take a note of it and mark you accordingly. All right.
Yes, got it.
Then if it is a start question, then you make a star on top or write start question. If it is an unstart question, you do not make a star, or you just write an unstart question. And then you can put in your question. All right.
Yes, thank you.
Now, one thing with regards to making a star, if let's say you do, you're not able to put in a star, all right, by any reason, if you do not put in a star and you do not write start question, it is going to be deemed an unstarred question at all times. Every question is going to be unstart question, except a question that is that has a mentioning of a star or start question. All right. So in the opening statements duration, I'm going to receive notices for questions. Then we are going to block that up. We are going to take all of them into consideration and then further decide which questions are going further. It's not like a discretionary power that I have to decide which questions are going further, but essentially we need to decide that if Hardeep Singh Puri can be asked only 2 questions, and if we have received 5 questions for him, how to deal up with that. All right. So that is there. Then as soon as the opening statements are over, at 11 a.m., we are going to start with the question hour. The questions are going to be notified one by one, the question that we have that is going to be asked and further answered in the committee. The start questions are only going to be dealt with in the case of question hour. For the unstart questions that we have, you'll have a period of about 1 or 2 hours, let's say up till 12 or 1 from 11 a.m. to answer the questions. And even while answering the question, you follow the entire same format. To the person who asked the question, who asked the question, from who you are representing, via a chairman, and whatever your answer is. All right. In case of an unstart question. Any doubt up until now with regards to opening statements or question? Any doubt?
Are we given time to answer the starred question?
Yeah. So at about 10 or between 10 to 11, we are going to have the notices. It will take about half an hour for us to sort all those notices, sort all those questions. I think you'll get a rough share of 10 to 15 minutes to prepare your answers. Okay. We'll give you an informal session to prepare. Don't worry. Yes, Nirmala Sitharaman, please tell me.
Here, in case if there is a question that is asked, not to a member who's not present in the course of the proceedings of the House, can the government, when that particular member is absent for that particular session, take up the initiative to collectively hold the responsibility and answer for that question?
I think it's better if you address questions to the members who are present in the committee, because if you have a question for, let's say, Narendra Modi is not a member of the House, but what you can do is you can address that question to Nirmala Sitharaman. You can address that question to the leader of the House that we have. I think Nirmala Sitharaman, you are the leader of the House. Who is the leader of the House of Rajya Sabha?
For the selected legislative business, I think I would be the leader.
Okay. I am a little away from the political scenario right now, so I really don't have any idea. Okay. So whosoever it is going to be, you can address it to him or any other member of the ruling party you deem fit. See, every member of the government present in the committee can completely represent the entire government, right? You can represent the PMO also. So that's not a problem. Okay. Now we are done with opening statements.
Sorry to interrupt, but I guess the leader of the House will be Piyush Goyal in Rajya Sabha.
Okay. Fair. Okay. One very crucial item. We have leader of the ruling party here. What we do not have by default is the leader of opposition. There may be a leader of opposition in the current scenario in the political situation in the country. I don't know who that is. All right. But by default in this committee or in Lok Sabha, we do not have a leader of opposition. We may have a leader of the largest single opposition party, but leader of opposition is always proclaimed. So between 9 to 10, or when the committee starts at 10, 9:30, whatever the time is, you're going to be given a period of 30 minutes to 1 hour to decide who the leader of opposition is going to be. All right. And we'll require, let's say, a simple majority from the side of opposition to proclaim a leader of opposition. simply you'll just have to write it shit to the chairman or the executive board, the panel present at the committee, that look, I am Mr. let's say Derek O'Brien, and as per the discussion with the members of the committee, I have been proclaimed as the leader of the opposition, with the members of the opposition signing off on this. All right. Then I'll just ask the members of the opposition, are you in consent with this? If they say yes, Derek O'Brien moves forward to be the leader of opposition, at least for the next 2 days of the conference. All right. Any doubt?
What will the government do during that time?
Nothing. Chill. Enjoy.
Sir, I have a doubt regarding this.
Yeah.
Sir, I completely understand the recommendation from your side, but won't it be going against the basic principles of what the House has stood for? Given the fact that to deserve a leader of opposition position, there must be minimum number of seats that a particular party needs to get. And since no party that currently exists in the 17th Lok Sabha has got that minimum number of seats.
Fair. See, it does not defeat the purpose in its entirety.
Understood.
Here we have the leader of opposition so as to facilitate the debate. All right. To have a person who represents
Simulation we are having your leader of opposition.
Correct. Absolutely correct. Now, that is why I told you what we may have in the current political situation in the committee. We may have a leader of the largest single opposition party. We may not have a leader of opposition by default, because as you said, we do not have the numbers for that. Correct. But for the purpose of facilitating the debate and to see whether or not a collective united front can be presented from the side of opposition, we try to have that. Also, one interesting point that you need to keep in mind is that leaves aside the party, but a leader of opposition in essence represents the entire opposition, right? And if the members present in the committee, by way of simple majority, clearly proclaim a person as a member of the opposition or a leader of the opposition, then the numbers justify that. In the actual Rajya Sabha, in the real world, that is not possible. But in here, that is possible. Correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that is up with regards to proclamation of leader of opposition, opening statement at 10 a.m. followed by question hour at about 11 a.m. Start questions done, unstarted questions done. Now, while you're answering a start question, keep in mind, let's just say that Nirmala Sitharaman was asked the question. The answer was not satisfactory in nature. The person who asked the question feels that there is room for some more clarification on this. Then the person has the right to ask a supplementary question. A supplementary question is nothing but an extended question that can be asked on the original question that was asked. It's not like you asked A in the original question and now you're asking B in the supplementary question. Both the questions have to be in interconnection between each other. All right. Supplementary question again will be granted basis the legitimacy and credibility of the question as well as the answer, basis our discretion. All right. So that is there. Narasimha Rao, are you saying something?
Yeah. So I have a doubt regarding. So I represent the state of UP. So like any question that is directed towards my state or UP, directly or indirectly, would that come to me? Right. Unstart questions. Talking about unstart questions.
Honestly, that is something that is left to the legislative wisdom of the members of the committee. All right. It's not like if there's a question that is raised on UP, you are going to be the one who is going to answer it. That depends on the legislative wisdom of the person who is asking that question. If somebody is asking a question to a member representing UP, a question that is related to Karnataka, then that just shows that the person who's asking the question does not have the required amount of legislative wisdom. All right. But if you're asking, we are going to route it to the right person, no, that's not our responsibility.
All right. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are done with question hour. Now, what do we do after that? We have something like an interesting concept, which is 0 hour. We're not going to have it here. We are going to directly proceed towards the legislative business of the house. Now, what is a 0 hour? 0 hour is nothing but a half an hour session that starts at about 12. All right. It starts at about 12 when the question hour ends. It takes up matters, any matter of urgent national and public importance. All right. Mostly, we are not going to have 0 hour because it's a ridiculous session devised only to waste the time of the committee and to throw rhetorics around. So it's not very crucial to have something like a 0 hour. But if on the day of the conference, all of you think that you need to have a 0 hour for half an hour, I'm not going to stop you from doing that. All right. By procedure, I have told you what 0 hour is. It's nothing but an informal session where I am not here in the committee. All right. I am definitely going to sit here. I'm going to facilitate the debate. But what you say in 0 hour has no bearing. All right. You may abuse the other person, but I'm not taking that as a bearing on the conference. All right. But please don't do that. That was just a hypothetical situation. Do not abuse other members present in the committee. So sorry. Yeah. I do not want to find myself in a pickle situation where I am discussing certain things with the trustees of the conference. All right. So yeah, that is there. Okay. So once we are done with about 0 hour, we immediately proceed to the legislative business of the house. Now, the legislative business is a very detailed business of the house. We deal with the papers that we have, but since in this committee we do not have a bill, we are not going to discuss any bill. All right. And the first reading, second reading, third reading of the bill that happens in the actual Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha in the real world, that is not going to happen here. So I'm not explaining it to you. It's just that whenever there is a bill, you read it 3 times. There's a procedure for first reading, there is a procedure of second reading, and the final voting procedure is after the third reading. All right. So that is completely irrelevant here. What we have is a broad and subjective agenda that we are going to discuss. The way we are going to discuss it is by the way of discussion hour. Now, what is a discussion hour? Discussion hour is essentially of 2 types, short term and long term, but it's a way by way of which the agenda can be broken into sub agendas and can be discussed. All right. Because you cannot discuss the public private partnership in just one single go, right? There are multiple numerous facets of public private partnership or the agenda that you have. Therefore, the subtopics that you think are associated with this agenda, for example, problems, current situation, recourse, advantages, disadvantages, steps taken up by the government to promote and boost public private infrastructure in the country. Okay. So there are endless subtopics that are associated with the agenda that we have. How do we deal with them? We deal with them by way of discussion. 2 types, short term, long term. Okay. Short term is anything that does not exceed a period of 30 minutes. Long term is anything that exceeds the period of 30 minutes. Okay. Now, how do you propose discussion? Very simple. You write I think the strength of the committee is also decent. What you do is on the day of the conference, once we are done with 0 hour, as soon as I start with the legislative business, as in when I say that I am looking for motions from all of you, all those who wants to raise up any motion can simply raise their hand. I'll recognize 2 or 3 of you. Okay. For example, Narasimha Rao wants to raise up a motion for a short-term duration discussion hour. He will unmute himself if recognized. Say, Mr. Chairman, I would like to initiate a motion for a short-term discussion hour on XYZ topic whatever topic he deems fit. Keep one thing in mind. This XYZ topic that I'm talking about right now, any subtopic cannot be in a question format. Okay? So you have to end it with a full stop. You have to keep it definite. All right. So yeah, I, Narasimha Rao, would like to initiate a motion for a short-term discussion hour on XYZ topic for total time being, let's say, 30 minutes. All right. And individual time being, let's say, 60 seconds. Now, generally, we in Indian committee, we do not have the concept of individual time being. So sorry, I got a phone call. Yeah. So total timing 30 minutes, individual timing 60 seconds. That essentially means that discussion hour can accommodate about 30 members. Okay. 30 divided by 60. Correct? Keep one thing in mind. Your individual time being cannot be in, cannot denote a number that is not divisible by the total time being. All right? Because we cannot have decimals in place. Okay? So you can keep it 1 minute, you can keep it 2 minutes, you can keep it 90 seconds, as in whatever you deem fit. Okay? So that is there. Now, so as soon as I am in receipt of the motion of Mr. Narasimha Rao, what I do is I say that, okay, I recognize this motion. That motion is in order. And we immediately proceed to voting. Okay. If that particular motion receives a consent of more than 51% members, 50% plus 1 members, then we get into that particular discussion, discussing that XYZ topic of Narasimha Rao. Okay. I will give him the opportunity to be the first speaker, or if he says that no, look, I do not want to be the first speaker, recognize me as and when you want. Okay. That means if he does not want to be the first speaker, when I'm recognizing other members to speak, I will have a discretionary power to decide which place he goes. Okay. And I can even decide that, look, I'm not going to give an opportunity to Narasimha Rao to speak. So if you want a mandatory position to speak, then it is recommended you take up the first position to speak. Okay. So let's say Narasimha Rao decides that, look, I want to be the first speaker. He goes on, gives his 90 second, 120 second, 2 minutes, whatever the situation is, speech, get done with it. And then we proceed to other members present in the house. Okay. Now, look, you still have a lot of time in your hand. I think you should start speaking to members in the committee, all of you, and try through mutual understanding to decide which topics do you want to discuss, so that we are not failing every motion that we are receiving. All right.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah, just 1 second.
Yeah.
So mutual understanding is very crucial. And since you have a lot of time, I would say discuss it among yourselves as to which subtopics you want to go ahead with, and then subsequently raise those motions in the discussion or on the day of the conference. Yes, Hardeep Singh Puri, followed by Narasimha Rao, followed by Mansukh Mandavia. Tell me.
The NDA alliance in the Rajya Sabha has more than 50%. So any motion should technically pass, like even if all the opposition is combined to oppose it and not all opposition parties oppose. Like, so, but that is not represented in the current scenarios. So how are we going to move about it?
Okay. See, now that is a problem. The matrix that we have right now, we are any which we're going to stick to that. Okay. What I can do is I can try to do the averaging method that we generally use in case of, matrix not actually representing what I can say. If the matrix is actually not representing the real situation, then we try to use an averaging method where we give more voting rights to the members of the ruling party to ensure that the actual situation is displayed, but I'm completely against it. Try to understand. This is not an actual Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, correct?
No, but then the opposition, if they are having more members in the Rajya Sabha, then they should also be answerable for more states, which they are not. So it's an unfair representation.
In the committee right now, by the allotted matrix, who is in the majority?
I'll have to check that. I'll just let you know.
Check that, or do one thing, check that, and please share the allotted matrix with me, not the entire committee matrix, the allotted committee matrix, those members who are going to be there on the day of the conference. Okay, share that with me and I'll see what I can do. Okay, I'll deal with it some way or the other.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, Narasimha Rao, please tell me. Let's try to expedite this as much as possible. It's already 7. Yeah, Narasimha Rao, please.
Sir, can you repeat if I pass a motion, right, and I can be the first speaker, or you can decide where I should go. So how do I state that? Can you just say it once again?
Okay, see, you have raised your motion. I have received your motion. All right, we have done the voting. If the motion has passed, I will myself ask you, Mr. Narasimha Rao, would you like to be the first speaker? Or do you want me to recognize you as and when I recognize other members present in the committee? Okay? If you say,
okay,
I want to be the first speaker, you go ahead with that. Or if you say, as and when you recognize, you go ahead with that. Okay? So it's not like there's a statement that you have to say in the committee. It's very simple. जब आपकी मर्जी ये बोल देना मैं वो भी ले लूंगा.
ठीक है. Thanks a lot.
हाँ. Mansukh Mandavya.
Sir, I wanted to ask, sir, that since this session was being recorded, will I get the recording of the session or not?
Please reach out to the OC for that. OC member, I think you're present here in the committee, right? Please deal with this query and respond on the WhatsApp group so that everybody gets to know about it. All right. Thanks.
One more thing. While the opposition is electing the leader of the opposition, I don't know if we have Lakshmikant Vajpayee on the matrix, but if we do not have, can the government select or whatever, reach a consensus to choose the whip in the house?
All right. With regards to whip, with regards to how defection is going to work, all of that, I think I'm going to be dealing with, at least so far as whip is concerned, on the day of the conference, because if I tell you what whip is, what is the first line whip, second line whip, third line whip, and how defection works in the committee, that becomes a little problematic. So if you do not have a problem, can we please deal with this on the day of the conference?
Yeah, sure. The only thing is to prevent cross voting. That's it.
Yeah. Don't worry. Okay. Sharad Pawar, please.
Sir, I wanted to ask exactly, I wasn't able to hear properly what you had said about the opening statement. So can you please explain a bit more about that?
Opening statements. Opening statements was actually the first thing that we discussed. Okay, but I'll just tell you. Opening statement is nothing but your introductory speech made to the members of the committee and to the panel. All right. You, by way of 90 seconds or 120 seconds, essentially tell everyone, what do you feel about the agenda? What do you think are the problems associated with the agenda? How do you want to better the agenda, resolve it, come up with a better framework for it, challenge the government, hold them accountable, do anything that you want. If you do not want to restrict yourself to the agenda that you have, but talk about other XYZ things that are happening in the political scenario, you are free to do that. Opening statement is nothing but your power to say anything in the committee. Okay. Nirmala Sitharaman, please.
Yes, sir. Quick question on, can we facilitate any sort of questions after the speeches or discussion that we have in the discussion hour, or any sort of comment or any remark?
I'll be coming to that. Don't worry. Coming to that. So we are done with discussion hour. Now, as he pointed out, how do you ask questions, right? Please note this down. There are multiple points that you have in the committee. Now, by points, I mean instruments. So there are 4 points. Point of personal privilege, point of parliamentary inquiry, point of order, point of information. Now, the order in which I told you these points are, or is the order in which these points are recognized. Okay? What is point of personal privilege? If in case you feel any personal discomfort in the committee, you can simply put in the chat box point of personal privilege from whatever your portfolio is. All right. Saying that, look, boss, the member delivering the speech, let's say Nirmala Sitharaman, is going too fast. I can't understand him. Ask him to go slow. We'll do that. Had it been a physical conference, you could have used point of personal privilege to regulate the temperature of the AC or fan, whatever you have, or maybe rush to the washroom. All right. But point of personal privilege is, I think, used in only one situation or 2 situations. One situation is where either the member is going too fast or is not comprehensible. Second is a situation wherein the member said something, you couldn't understand that, and you want the member to repeat that statement. Okay, so that is what point of personal privilege is. Then we come down to point of parliamentary inquiry. Point of parliamentary inquiry is nothing but a point through which you can just say that, look, point of parliamentary inquiry in this chat section. If you have any query so far as the procedure of the committee is concerned, I am prescribing a particular rules of procedure for the committee, right? Now, if on the day of the conference, you feel that you are disconnected with any procedure or you do not understand something, just send a point of parliamentary inquiry. We recognize you and you can clear your doubt with me, whatever your doubt is so far as the procedure is concerned. Okay. Third is point of order. Point of order is used against me and my panel members. That means the procedure that I am prescribing today, if on the day of the conference I deviate from it, I deviate from the procedure that I am prescribing today, then you as a parliamentarian member of Rajya Sabha have a right to raise a point of order against me. Look, boss, you said this on that day. This is the procedure that you established. This is what happened in the committee. All right. Then I'll take that into consideration. Moving on. Now, what is point of information? Point of information is the power that you have to ask other members questions. You can do that when a member has delivered a statement. Let's say Nirmala Sitharaman delivered a statement, or Dr. C.M. Ramesh gave a statement, or Derek O'Brien gave a statement, and you want to ask a question. You can just, I will recognize one, as in when the speech is done, I will ask, are there any point of information or point of order, whatever, are there any point of information? Then let's say Vivek Thakur wants to ask a question. He will just raise his hand in this virtual format, and I will recognize him. He will ask the question. The member will answer the question. As simple as that. Okay. Any doubt? I'm saying a lot of things right now. So, yeah. Yeah, Nirmala Sitharaman.
Sir, can we exercise our right of replies as ministers in the Rajya Sabha?
Coming to that. You absolutely can. Narayan Rane.
Yeah, I kind of had a very silly doubt. The parliament actually came out with a series of words that we must abstain from using during the parliament. So can I raise a point of order if there's a deviation from that list of words?
I'm so sorry, I couldn't understand what you said. Could you please repeat?
Okay, so there was a recent list of words that parliamentarians cannot use in their speeches. The list of words is actually hilarious, but in any case, if any of the fellow members uses that particular word, can a point of order be raised?
All right. For your clarification, now, so far as the words are concerned, those words are also present in the code of conduct prescribed by the Parliamentary Affairs Ministry. So you can't use that word. But again, please ignore them, because what happens is there are a lot of words that people generally and commonly use which are not abusive or which are not slang in nature, but have mentioning in that particular list. Okay. So you have to exercise your own wisdom and come up to conclusion whether or not XYZ or like X word has to be used.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Mansukh, Mandivya.
Sir, I wanted to ask whether these lines of question can be done also by the members of the ruling party or not.
Sorry?
I said whether these line of questioning can be done by the members of the ruling party or not.
Yeah, everyone, anyone. Here there is no bar to the ruling members or to the opposition members. Anybody can ask a question. It's generally done when a particular statement is delivered. All right. It can be a member of the opposition. It can be a member of the ruling party. Okay.
Got that.
Okay. That's all. You are also allowed to ask chits to those members who have not delivered a statement, but you wish to ask them questions. You can do that in a written format. You already have the written format, to, from, point of information, whatever your question is, and the other person can just respond to the same by saying to, from, answer to POI, reply to POI, and whatever the answer is. Okay. Simple. No rocket science. So these are the points that are concerned. Now, one question was with regards to right of reply. Now, a lot of people ask me what is the right of reply and what is the right to reply. There is nothing like a right to reply concept in the houses or the parliamentary format that we have. Right to reply is something that everybody has as a fundamental right. Okay. What we have as an instrument present in the procedure is right of reply, and right of reply is given, I think, generally to the Council of Ministers or who holds some kind of office. All right. So let's just say that we have, Nirmala Sitharaman present in the committee. She holds a particular ministry, and there is something that is said which, kind of demeans her office or the responsibilities that she entails. Then you can potentially raise a right of reply, and you can respond to that particular thing that was said against you. So that is what a right of reply generally is. In this committee, we have a very few members, I think, representing the ministries. So I don't think that we are going to have something like a right of reply present in the committee or being usually exercised in the committee. Now, with regards to the flow, we are done with opening statement, we are done with question hour, we are done with 0 hour, we are done with discussion hour. Just keep one thing in mind, the entire 2-day conference after 12, after 0 hour is going to be done in a format of discussion hour only, short term or long term. Short term is anything not exceeding 30 minutes. With regards to the paperwork present in the committee, generally we have a bill. So in the legislative business, we go on to the reading of the bill and an analysis of the bill. There are ways to do that, but I'm not getting into it because we do not have a bill. We are simply we are going to do deliberation on the agenda by way of discussion hour. But if members are present in the committee want to have some kind of paperwork in the committee, what we can have is a resolution. And a lot of you who have been through MUN must be thinking that how can an Indian committee have something like a resolution? No, that is not true. Indian committees also have, like, for example, Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha also have something like a resolution. But in here, resolution does not have a very binding value. Resolution is passed in the form of an opinion by any member present in the committee. it generally includes the recommendations or the deliberations over the past 2 days of the conference. And if the member who is moving this particular resolution in the last session of the conference wishes or presses to, have a voting on the resolution so that it can be proclaimed that the entire house has adopted this particular resolution or opinion or recommendation, then we have voting on it. Otherwise, there is no voting on resolution. Okay? This is something we can deal with on the last day of the conference, the second day of the conference. Not important right now, but just for the sake of your understanding, it's nothing but a piece of opinion, recommendation, or entirely summarizing what you have discussed over the past 2 days, and then nothing else. And if let's say Prakash Javadekar is moving this particular resolution and he is the one who wishes to have voting on it, he presses for it, we go for voting. If he doesn't feel like that, then we do not go for voting. Okay? If we don't go for voting, then it is Prakash Javadkar's opinion. If we go for voting and it passes, it is Rajya Sabha's PCGT Nyp 2022 opinion. Okay? So we are done with that. There are again 2 other things that are present: calling attention and adjournment motion. Adjournment motion is when you think that some urgent matter has come up of national and public importance, the house needs to be adjourned, and adjournment motion needs to come up. You have a right to do that. All right. It essentially seeks to raise discussion on some sudden or emergent matters of public importance. It requires at least 1/10 members present according to the quorum to stand up in favor. Then only I'll be able to grant the leave of this particular motion, that is adjournment motion. So it's not simple majority, it's 1/10. But not only that, one more requirement here is my discretion. My satisfaction is important for any adjournment motion to move forward. At any time, let's say after 1, if you feel that there is an adjournment motion that you want to pass, okay, then what you can do is you can come up with an adjournment motion saying that, look, boss, I want to discuss this. I beg for leave of the house to move the adjournment motion. And if, let's say, I am satisfied with it and 1/10 of the members present in the committee is in favor of the leave, then I will grant it. Okay. It is usually in Lok Sabha. I think it is taken up for discussion at 1600 hours. That is 4 p.m. Rajya Sabha, I'm not sure of the period, but that is how things go. The other thing is calling attention motion. Calling attention motion is nothing but a power given to members present in the committee. Any member present in the committee may, with my prior permission, call the attention of a particular minister or a person who holds any office or ministry to a matter of urgent public importance and can request that minister to make a statement thereon. Okay. India got very innovative when it came to this. It is just a different version of an adjournment motion. It's just that when people do not want to take the recourse of adjournment motion, they go for a calling attention motion wherein they ask a particular specific minister to answer. All right. Now, again, there is a test of admissibility. I have to decide that. Okay. So that is there. I think what is left? We are done with, I think, almost everything. One major thing, privilege. Now, a lot of you must be thinking that, boss, we have done MUNs, we have done youth parliaments, but in point of order, something like a factual inaccuracy is also given. If somebody says Mumbai is the capital of India, that is factually inaccurate. I have the power to raise point of order and correct him. So that does not happen in the actual or in an appropriate and a proper way. That does not happen. What happens is that every member in the committee has a privilege. All right. Now you are bound by that privilege, but you cannot breach that privilege. All right. You cannot say anything that in the committee that is utterly misleading. If at any point, let's say Narasimha Rao says something which is utterly misleading in the committee, which breaches the privilege that the parliamentary privilege that he has, then simply a notice can be sent to me. I will take that into account. Okay. So that is with regards to breach of privilege.
So I had a doubt. Can I ask that?
Please.
Yeah. So like, if someone say abuses the state that MPs or MLAs are like representing, so can he use the right of reply then? Abusing that state. Say someone says UP is a shithole, like that.
Abuses the state
Which the person is representing, which the member is representing. Yes.
I don't think so. To be very honest, right of reply is essentially given to people representing a particular ministry or some kind of power. If something is said about UP, then I don't think you should be offended by it at any point. Just because you're representing UP, that doesn't mean every time something bad is said against UP, you have to take a stand for it.
Okay.
Yeah. The best way, see, right of reply should never be exercised in the committee. At least in an academic simulation, a right of reply should never be exercised. But what should be exercised is providing a legitimate response to the defamation that you just handled in the committee. How will you do that? The next discussion hour that you get, say that in
the next page.
Yeah, simple. Orally bol do na. That is more impactful. Right of reply unnecessarily disrupts the motion of the committee. So that is why it's not recommended. Indu Bala Goswami followed by Mansukh Mandavya. Tell me.
Yes, so I had this question like at the time of opening statement, the member of ruling party, like in what context he will start its speech? Like as the opposition will start with the problems and disadvantages, in what context will a ruling party member will talk on it?
Are you talking about are you strictly talking about opening statements?
Yes, yes.
You can talk about what do you think public-private partnership is, according to you, how your government has taken method to improvise, to boost up the infrastructure for public-private partnership that you have. How do you think there are still problems, but the government is working on it? And how do you think in the next 2 days of the conference, with mutual understanding and a lot of discussion and deliberation, how you can try to come up with a better framework or recommendations or suggestions so as to come up with actual measures that your government can take to better the agenda? Got it?
Okay. Yes, thank you.
Mansukh Mandavya.
So, sir, I had a very silly kind of
question,
but
no doubt it's silly, I think.
I wanted to ask, how will I send you notices and stuff through what mode will I communicate with you if I have to
How will you communicate with me during the committee?
Yeah, exactly.
If you have a procedural doubt, you raise your hand, or you just you raise your hand, I recognize you, you say point of parliamentary inquiry, or in the chat box you send your point of parliamentary inquiry saying that, look boss, I have this doubt regarding the procedure, please explain it to me. I will do that.
So is it it is going to be either by raising my hand or by writing to you on the chat, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
There is no other way that you can exercise, no?
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it from my side. I have to take leave right now. I'm so sorry. Karan, will you be able to take the further queries? Karan and Tanaya?
Yeah, sure, we'll do it.
All right.
Yeah, sure.
Is there any procedural doubt that you have, apart from the logistical issues that you might possibly face and timing of the conference, what all? Any other thing that you have?
Yes, sir, I do have one.
Yeah, please tell me.
Sir, just for the sake of facilitation of debate, can government members equally be allowed to send questions like the unstart questions to the opposition members?
Unstart question. The ruling party cannot send. The ruling, the Council of Ministers can at least not send. If you want me to allow, I can allow the ruling members of the ruling party to send questions to the opposition, but Council of Ministers under no circumstance can send questions.
Okay, sir. Understood.
All
Okay,
right.
so
But even for members of ruling to send questions to opposition, that will also be not be allowed. Why I'm not inclined towards allowing it is, if you ask a questioner to member of opposition, with what authority will he be answering that question? Because he is not accountable. He does not hold any office. He does not have any power. If you want to ask him a question, do that in discussion or by point of information. No. Question hour is specifically devoted to holding the government accountable, to holding the Council of Ministers accountable for their actions and measures, not the other way around. All right.
Yes, sir. Understood.
So there's one point that the members of the opposition who are the minority in the center are not minority in the state. So if there is something concerning their respective state governments, can we put that up? Like
concerning the state governments, as in a minority fraction of the opposition asking a question to?
No, like I'll just take an example. Aam Aadmi Party is a opposition party in Rajya Sabha, but it is the ruling party in Punjab. So if there is some problem in implementation of central schemes by the state government, we can raise that issue.
No. State government, so I don't think you can do that. If you restrict your scope to the central government, that will be better.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Any other doubt with regards to procedure? Indubala Goswami, you're raising a hand.
Yes, I had doubt regarding questionnaire. Like at the time of questionnaire, if a person is not belonging to any concerned ministry, as such, my portfolio is regarding, I'm not a part of ministry as such. So at that time, I won't get any questions regarding as such.
At least in the questionnaire, you will not.
Yes.
Yeah, but for that is what I'm saying. I need to look at the matrix to see how many Council of Ministers do we have. If we have enough share of Council of Ministers, then I will not allow that. Let's just say if we do not have enough Council of Ministers, then what I will allow is members of the ruling party to be asked questions.
Okay.
Yeah, that depends on the strength. I will look at it. Best of luck, all of you. Karan and Tanaya are going to be here. If you have any doubt, I beg your leave. Okay, chalo, best of luck. And please research well. This is a very interesting agenda. One major thing, the last note on which I want to leave you guys, please do not use rhetorics in the committee. Please do not use proverbs. I do not appreciate them at all. I'm going to be looking at you very negatively if you use rhetorics in the committee, honestly. Sometimes to make an impact in the committee using a rhetoric is different. A rhetoric can be a part of your speech, but your speech cannot be part of your entire rhetoric, all right? So try to understand that, be as much, as productive as possible. Let's try to separate ourselves from the perverted form of parliament that we have in the actual scenario. This is an academic simulation. We try to limit it to that. So please, no rhetorics, no narabazi, nothing. And yeah, that's all from my side. Thank you, guys. It was a wonderful session. And yeah, see you on the day of the conference. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, members, if you have any questions or queries regarding the conference.
Yeah.
or anything
So
that
finally, the question regarding whether the council of the ruling party will be allowed to ask questions or not will be dependent on the strength of the Union of Ministers, correct?
Right, and subject to when the chairman, that is Miheer in this case, goes through the matrix and he'll give you an update regarding who can be asked questions.
All right.
On the day of the event, or I think 1 day or 2 days prior.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else?
Yeah, I had a question.
Go on.
Yeah, I would just like to reiterate my previous question whether we'd be provided the recording of the session or not, so that I can like cross-reference stuff.
Yeah, you will.
Yes, you would be provided with the rec.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Prakash Javadekar.
Yeah, actually, I had to ask what will be our dress code for the conference?
Guys, can you take this? I have no idea.
Indian or Western form?
Right. Anything else?
When is the start and the end time of the committee? Someone is asking the start.
I think we'll send the itinerary on the group as well. That will have the timings for both the days. And I think the closing ceremony, that's the question, right? What time will the conference end? So the closing ceremony is at 5 p.m. on Sunday. If there's anything else, you can always reach out to the three of us.
So like you will send the itinerary today or in a day or two?
We'll do it today, I guess.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Okay.
Anytime. You can reach out to the three of us anytime and we'll help you out, right? If you don't have any doubts, you can leave the meeting.